In this video, we're taking a look at Spawn comics that are relatively cheap raw that have a massive potential ROI when graded at a CGC 9.8. And we're also looking at some market manipulation and what to look out for. Stay tuned.
Bry's Comics.
First off, congrats to Ronald B. You are the winner of the Invincible Local Comic Shop Day Gold Foil Edition CGC 9.8 slab. And this is your second chance to enter the giveaway for the videos associated with the massive collection that I just bought. I still don't even know what the prize is going to be for this giveaway, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to have a slab and it's going to have some really awesome raw books. Subscribe to the channel, comment on this video, and like this video, and you're entered to win. So part of that massive collection that I just bought was a complete run of Spawn, issues number 1 to 300-ish, and I was truly surprised at the FMV of these books raw. Based off of recent eBay sales of all the issues, the FMV of the complete run raw was over $7,000. And honestly, I haven't been paying too much attention to Spawn, at least not as much as I should have, because for the longest time, these were all just half-price backbin books. But with the expansion of the Spawn universe that started in early 2021 in comics, and all of this added attention to the series and to the character, not to mention the fact that Todd McFarlane has gone on record saying that the live action reboot is still on track and making progress. I think that now is a great time to get in on Spawn, and that we're nowhere near the peak of values for this series. So I sold a big chunk of the Spawn run at my first live sale with this collection over on my Instagram page with Gem Mint. I bulked them out into sets of 10, but now for the remaining issues that didn't sell, because a lot of them didn't sell because it was like $600 or $700 for 10 issues, and that's a lot of money to shell out for raw books that you can't see in person. So now I'm going through them and finding which ones have good graded ROI, which I should have done for the whole run in the beginning, but I was feeling a little bit of pressure to kind of recoup some of the investment on the collection, and when you have just that many books, I was okay with just bulking some of it out to recoup some of the money spent. But that's what caused me to dive deep into the numbers on the ROI for some of these books. And so I've composed a list here of 8 really high raw to graded ROI for Spawn books. And a couple things to note. One, these numbers are for 9.8s only. You shouldn't go out and buy every single copy of these books that you can find. It's the super high grade ones that demand the crazy premiums. And 2, many of these books will see more graded 9.8s come to market. So the ROI might not be quite as high then, but even with that in mind, I still think that this is a good flipping strategy. And stay tuned to the end, we get into some pretty interesting market manipulation stuff. So number 8 on the list is Spawn number 139. It's $80 to $125 raw and $561 for a CGC 9.8, a 290% ROI when you factor in grading and shipping costs. And there's only 17 of these graded at 9.8 on the CGC Census. And this is just a cool cover, low print run issue of Spawn, which you'll see as a recurring theme for why they hold such high values. Number 7 on the list is Spawn number 1. And most people know that the early issues of Spawn had huge print runs, and that definitely impacts the value of the early books. But there will always be a huge demand for an issue number 1. Many people don't even care what the print run was. They just want a Spawn number 1 in a CGC 9.8. So with this book selling consistently for about $15 to $30 raw and over $200 for a CGC 9.8, it's making the list. Just be aware that there are almost 20,000 graded copies on the CGC Census. However, there are way more than 20,000 copies of Amazing Spider-Man number 300 on the CGC Census, and you see what the prices are doing for that book. So you always have to look at supply in light of demand. And a new live action of Spawn will cause demand for this book to go through the roof. At today's prices, it's a roughly 300% ROI raw to graded when you factor in grading and shipping fees, etc. Number 6 on the list is Spawn number 230. This is that classic Batman 423 homage and is around $200 raw, and a CGC 9.8 just sold for $900, an ROI of 260%. There's 67 9.8s on the CGC Census. And number 5 on the list is Spawn number 131. And this is another just low print run, awesome cover. It's about $50 to $75 raw. A CGC 9.8 just sold for $700, a 460% ROI. There's only 13 of these graded at a CGC 9.8. Number 4 on the list is Spawn number 151, cover A. And this is just a low print run, awesome cover, $65 to $100 raw, and a CGC 9.8 just sold for $800, an ROI of around 700%, even after you factor in grading fees and shipping. There's only 18 CGC 9.8s of this and cover B combined on the CGC Census. And that brings us to number 3 on the list, which is Spawn number 151, but the cover B. This is the Philip Tan wraparound cover, epic cover, about $60 to $90 raw, and a CGC 9.8 just sold for $749, an ROI of 732%, even after you factor in shipping and grading fees. Number 2 on the list is Spawn number 213. And raw, this goes for anywhere from $15 to $50, and a CGC 9.8 just sold for $1,501, an ROI of 1,400% after you factor in grading and shipping. And whenever you see a sale like this, it's a major red flag, and it demands more investigation to see what is going on, if there's any kind of market manipulation. So let's jump into the computer and take a look. All right, so here we are on eBay, and we can see that Spawn 213 is CGC 9.8, sold 3 separate times by the same seller, this Sparkle City Comics. And when you click into the listing, you can click on the actual bidding history, and you can see here that in the last few bids were bid by someone with a username that started with 3 and ended with 2 with 872 feedback. And then the winner was somebody's screen name who started with U and ended with P, and they have 15 feedback. Okay, so these 2 people were bidding 872 feedback, 15 feedback. Then we go to the one that sold for 404, and we see that the person with 15 feedback won it. And then if we go and look at the other issue, which when you look here, this certification number is the exact same comic as this comic. Does that mean that it is in fact the exact same comic? Not necessarily. Maybe Sparkle City Comics has multiples of this and they just use the same picture for each one. They're both 9.8s. But nonetheless, this one is different than this one. And if we go into the bidding history of the one that ended at $455, we see that somebody with a username starts with F, ends with I, but has 872 feedback was the final winner. And if we look over here, here's 872 feedback, 15 feedback, 15 feedback, 872 feedback. So this is a telltale sign of market manipulation. Does it mean that Sparkle City Comics is the one doing the market manipulation? Not necessarily. It's possible that somebody else in the community has a vested interest in jacking the price up of this book. So there's really no way to tell what's going on. All we can tell for sure is that something is going on. And the reason I kept this on the list at number 2, even though we know there's something going on with this sale, I wanted it to be an example of what people should look for, how to try and detect market manipulation, although it is not an exact science. You have to be really careful before throwing out accusations. And I want to reiterate that I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I have no idea what's going on here. It's totally possible that Sparkle City Comics is the victim here of eBay anarchists. Number 1 on the list, we have Spawn number 200, the Silvestri variant. So a raw copy can be had all day for under $50, but a CGC 9.8 just sold at auction for $1,650. So what happened here? Well, it's one of two things. Either it's market manipulation or a FOMO eBay bidding war. Let's jump into the computer and take a look. All right, so here we are in eBay, and here's that sale for Spawn 200, CGC 9.8 Silvestri variant, $1,650. And lo and behold, it's our buddy Sparkle City Comics. So let's look at the bidding history. So here's the bidding history for the comic that ended at $1,650. And lo and behold, not a registered user has jacked the price up. One feedback, all the way from $136, jacked it all the way up And then the winning bid was 872. The same person from here and here. Now, this could be anyone. It could be somebody just messing with Sparkle City Comics. Maybe they hate Sparkle City Comics. They had a bad experience and they're just totally messing with them. But you would think that that account would get blocked at a certain point for non-payment. There's really no way to tell. There's no way to tell what's going on, and they totally could be the victims of eBay anarchists. So there you have it, guys. The two main takeaways for this video is one, there's tons of potential for low print run spawn issues. And two, there's market manipulation, or at the very least, eBay anarchists at work here. So don't forget to evaluate these things with a critical mind. When you see red flags or when you see really outlier sales, it's important to investigate it a little further, ask more questions, and look for trends to see if it's market manipulation in any way. And if you know somebody who's manipulating the market, please take the appropriate actions to report them, because the spec game is so much more fun on a level playing field. We don't need market manipulation to make it work. That's the beautiful thing about comic books, is it is a healthy, thriving industry on its own, and market manipulation just drags it down. So as always, thank you so much for sticking with me all the way to the end of the video. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter at brycecomics.com, and you're entered to win a free slab each and every month. We're just getting ready to draw for the November giveaway, which is this awesome CGC 9.8 Inyahuk League Gwenem vs. Carnage 1 in 25 exclusive variant. And next month will be a whole new prize, and all you have to do is stay subscribed to the newsletter. Thanks once again, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.
Bryce Comics.